I'd like to introduce one of the Jackson Center founders and board member, past president, past everything when it comes to the Jackson Center, the man who really made the center possible. But he's going to put everything in context. And so I asked Greg Peterson to come forward. And
Sharon, I learned a long time ago, when they keep talking about past this, past that, it's better to be a has-been than a never was. So that's my role. Thrilled to have Sharon Robinson in our midst. We were thrilled to, as we were contemplating this year's author series, that the opportunity presented itself. And then the epiphany, that magic moment that it all comes together, was shortly after the name of Sharon Robinson's was set forth. And it was this. A few years ago, I was intimately involved in writing the history of professional baseball in Jamestown, a book called Across the Seams. And in the course of doing that history, we were digging around and found out that, in fact, we date back to 1891. And in 1891, uniquely, in this professional baseball team in Jamestown, which was part of a league called the Iron and Oil League, there was a black first baseman, unique, named R.A. Kelly, who became was really well accepted into the community, and this community became very grateful in having such a ball player that ilk, but it was unique in all of baseball. This is 1891. But what was most interesting, and I learned this from a book, if you ever get into the studies of the history of black baseball, you will start with a book called Only the Ball Was White. Only the Ball Was White, authored by Bob Peterson. So I got that book, and I'm thumbing through the book, and I go to the dust jacket, and on the back of the dust jacket it talks about Bob Peterson, and it talks about the fact that Bob Peterson was born in Warren, Pennsylvania. Now, Bob Peterson, as part of his background as a young kid, would go to barnstorming when Satchel Paige and Josh Gibson and others would come through Warren, Pennsylvania. On their way to Jamestown, he would watch them. And he remembers a Josh Gibson hit that goes over the railroad tracks in one of those moments in time, which led to him, as a member of the New York Times, to write this book, the first of its kind ever. And in fact, today, when you write books on the history of black baseball, your goal is to win the Bob Peterson Award. That's the ultimate award from the Society of American Baseball. What did I learn going through that book? That in fact, in 1898, I found out that there was a team in the Iron and Oil League called the Celoron Acme Colored Giants. And this was a minor league team, but professional. And the owner of Celoron Park, just right up the road, and by the way, Sharon, Celoron is the home of Lucille Ball. So you think you see I Love Lucy right here. There are a few big names from this area. H.Jackson, of course, is foremost. And of course, there's Lucille Ball and Roger Troy Peterson and a few others. But right up there in Celoron was called the Celoron Acme Colored Giants, and the owner of the Celoron Park put together a professional team of all black players to play in this professional league. Harry Curtis was the guy's name. And in fact, the team started off, and just to read a few vignettes from an article I did in the Society of American Baseball Research, they were described in sporting life as the Celorons. Drove home from their first game Saturday night, and leaving town, they enlivened the air with singing. They can sing as well as they can play. The Negroes are a jolly, gentlemanly crowd and an honor to the league. However, they lost. They lost a lot of games. And in one of the subsequent games, it was right during the Spanish-American War, for all those history people. And their headlines were, Celoron bombarded, their fleet sunk, and their forts demolished. They lost again. Interestingly enough, their uniform colors were yellow. the Celoron team, the Celoron Acme Giants, were in fact yellow. And in fact, one of their highlights were, another headline, yellow suits, yellow game. They lost. In fact, the Acme Giants knew they had to do something to turn around, so they actually secured at a heavy expense, Ransom Pringle of Savannah, who he claims is the best colored ball player in the United States. This is a guy trying to build a promotion. And again, they lost. They were ultimately 6-17. This is the professional team that was in the league. And ultimately, bad attendance, because they weren't winning, ultimately led to the disbanding of the team. They were described by Bob Peterson as the white team. It was ultimately a white team that came and replaced the colored Giants, and they lasted not much more than a week before disbanding. It was a dreary postscript to the last season in which a number of blacks played in the minor leagues. For 48 years, segregation on professional baseball scene would be the norm. So Sharon, you are in a location where the last professional integrated baseball in 1898 was here. And then in 1945, your dad signed. 1946, he plays in Montreal. 47 with the Dodgers. So the bookends of the whole story of integrated baseball. From Celoron here, welcome. And Jackie Robinson, your dad, welcome again. So thank you very much.
Thank you.